So now, you're ready to enter the final process in the CN Seamless workflow, run. Select run from the bottom of this UI, and now you've got a couple of options on your right, including the e-stop still. You've got the homing button. If it's yellow, you've already homed and you're good to go. You've also got the lock and unlock option. If you unlock the joints, you're not going to be able to hit run, so make sure that that stays unlocked. And then you also have the up and down buttons, which are the jog height. So after you start to run your process, if you want to adjust how high the torch is cutting up or below the material, you're going to use those two options. The other option available to you when you enter the run process is probe. And when you click this option probe, the torch is going to lift up, it's going to go to the very first pierce point for your design, and it's going to start to lower back onto the material. When the torch tip makes direct contact with your material, you're going to click confirm. That's going to set the height of your material, where you're going to probe and let this machine know how tall is your material on the workpiece. So now that you've gotten ready to probe, you're ready to light your torch and get ready to make the cut. Once you've confirmed the probe, the torch will lift up to the pierce height you specified in the material settings. Make sure the valves on the oxyacetylene manifold are closed before turning on your gas bottles. If you're confident in setting the neutral flame while at the pierce height, you can. However, if you select pause in the run menu, the torch will lift up to give you more room. Crack open the acetylene valve on the manifold an eighth of a turn, and use the striker to ignite the fuel coming out of the torch tip. Then adjust your oxygen-acetylene ratio using the manifold valves until you get a flame with blue cones coming out of the torch that are just barely touching the material. If you're paused, click resume to lower down the torch to the pierce height, and tap pierce when the material is glowing orange. The torch will begin moving along the path you specified in the design process, and as you can see, my rectangle is parallel to the edge of my material since I referenced it in the orient process. If you have multiple different shapes in your design, the torch will automatically move to the next pierce point. But for this design, my cut is just about done, so I can close off the manifold valves to extinguish the preheat flame. The preheat flame is manually controlled by the oxyfuel manifold, so make sure you always are either right next to the manifold or your gas bottles in case you need to extinguish the preheat. Now I can pop out my rectangle with a slag hammer and move on to my next design.